Welcome, West Point family, to the latest edition of the West Point Thoroughbreds Handicapping Podcast. You're probably noticing right now that there's no Jason Blewett on the screen, so the show just got younger and better looking by default without Jason here.
Ouch.
Kid, of course, Jason is enjoying some sun in the Keys with his wonderful wife, Christina, so hope he's having a great time. He'll be back on next week to chat about the races that happened this weekend, and then look towards the Derby and some of the stuff that we got coming up in late April. Obviously, we got the OBS April sale next week too. So if that's not on your calendar, put it on now. We're going to get a bunch of really nice 2-year-olds, I think, pretty well spaced out across the country. So whatever you're looking for, I think there's something that'll be up your alley next week. And obviously, if you haven't signed up for text messages yet, sign up for those. Check out our shortlist calls that we're going to do each day before the sessions of the sale. So a lot of great information coming, and you want to be in the know so you can act quickly if you do see something you like. So let's get to last week's races before we turn the pages to this coming weekend. 2 results in particular, and I'll share my screen real quick so we can check out the replays. 2 results in particular that, pretty much there was some bad beats, Tom. I got to say, man, which one was worse, do you think, Cugino or Vava over the weekend?
It's hard to say. Watching, I was at Keeneland this weekend, for those that don't know. Watching Cugino live, when we put away that Godolphin horse, kind of turning for a home, and he starts to separate there. I think we're home, and I'm sitting there screaming for the wire. And of course, I didn't know who it was at the time. The 4-horse Need, who ends up nosing us.
Mm-hmm.
Live, I think we get the photo, and then they show it up on the screen there, and you hear the crowd and realize, oh my goodness, we just got nosed.
Yep.
But I mean, that was tough, but I think that one was a little bit tougher to swallow because I just thought we were there. When with Vava, it was kind of like I thought. It was almost a replay of the Raven Run, but this time Alva Star and Tyler Gaffleon got the jump on us sooner than last time and kind of turned the tables. But I think there's a little budding rivalry between our Vava and Alva Star.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to that in a second. I'm showing the replay for the Cugino race right here. You got caught wide on that first turn. And then Javier, I thought, did the smart thing, because the last thing he wanted to do was be caught wide on both turns. So he sent the horse right up towards the lead. I think he sensed that the pace was a little bit slower than expected. So and he saw that the Godolphin horse was in his sight. So he wanted to be sure to not let that horse get away from him and get caught wide on the second turn as well. And he ran hard every step of the way. I mean, you're thinking right here, like when Javier is pumping on him, maybe he'll flatten out a little bit from having to go wide and make that early move. But like you said, Tom, like he puts the Godolphin horse away fairly early in the stretch, opens up, and you could say the 4 got a little bit unlucky just because he got some traffic trouble, but he saved all the ground. Cugino ran way more feet than him, and yeah, just coming down to the wire here, we thought we had it, and damn, man, that was a tough one.
It was, and I kept telling myself after that race, one of these days we're gonna get that photo for him, and it's gonna be his coming out party, and it's gonna be awesome because I had a great time with all the folks with his partnership. It was a blast. Obviously, it would have been probably 10 times better had we got that photo, but I just think he's such a good horse, and he always shows up. He's all hard. He runs hard. What can you ask for?
Yeah, no, I mean he's just been unlucky. We talked about that before on this podcast. To me, I think there's a grade 1 with his name on it coming up at some point later this year. If not, then definitely next year, just because he's run multiple stakes winning efforts and just has been so unlucky not to get the job done quite. And that photo could have gone either way. We'll switch over to Vava real quick here in the Madison on Saturday. This was a great ride, I thought, but saving all the ground on Vava, tipping her out in the stretch. And there's really no shame, as you mentioned, Tom, losing to Alva Star. To me, these are clearly the top 2 fillies in that filly and mare sprint division. It's tough when a horse gets the jump on you with the quality that Alva Star has. I was hoping that she didn't quite want to go 7 and that we'd be able to tag her. But listen, Vava still ran huge and just never quit. I love these fast closing sprinters. And right here, you think she's probably going to lose by 4 or 5 lengths, but she just doesn't stop trying. She ends up making it pretty much a photo at the wire. Tommy, did you ever think that she was going to get there or even make it as close as she did as they turned into the
You know
stretch?
what? At the top of the stretch, I didn't say it out loud. In my head, I was like, "Oh man, we're beat this time," because I didn't have the same feeling I did in the Raven Run. I thought like you said, I thought we were getting beat by a couple lengths, but no, and Vava, she made it interesting. And then for a second, I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, she can get there, she can get there. But the fact that she ran like that off of what 6 month layoff, 5 6 months is just unbelievable. And I think for this entire year, we're going to be squaring off with Alpha Star. And as we continue running more of these grade ones, we're going to get a lot more of these grade one type horses. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Just to my mind, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Belzawan and Wisconsin. They'd always run at Churchill and Kentucky circuits together. Wisconsin being the speedball type horse, kind of like Alpha Star. And Belzawan would have just come from the clouds. I mean, Vava doesn't come from that far back, but she comes from off a little bit. So it's kind of reminiscent of those two, which is a lot of fun. I loved watching those two run, and I'm sure this rivalry is going to be just as good, if not better.
Yeah, you would think that next the Derby City Distaff would be in the cards for both of those horses coming up next. We'll see obviously how Vava trains coming out of the race, but it's nice, even though she didn't get the job done, it's nice to have a horse that you already know on April 10th or April 8th or whatever it was that she's near or at the top of her division. So it should be a really fun year with her. We'll turn the page a little bit coming up to this coming weekend's racing. So we got good amount of action. We've got 6 horses entered right now, although Giant Game is entered in 2 races, so obviously we'll only have 5 runners, I think, in total. Giant Game is in as an MTO tomorrow, Thursday the 11th, in a grass race that may come off the turf. Tom was talking before we came on the air. They got a bunch of rain. Battle of Normandy was supposed to run today, scratched when the race came off the grass. So it seems fairly likely that he'll get in tomorrow. And I just looking through the field, Tom, like I just don't see a ton of imposing dirt for him. I mean, you got some horses who have run some okay races on the dirt, maybe like in the high 70s, low 80 buyers. The other MTO obviously has a big chance in Hayes Strike, but I don't know. To me, on paper, if this race comes off the grass, Giant Game has the look of a 4-5 or even money shot. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. He obviously likes Keeneland, broke his maiden there second out a couple years ago. I forget how long ago. But like you said, I was looking through this field. If this stays on the grass, I'm happy that we're MTO because I don't want any part of these horses on the grass. But if it does come off and we can get in on the dirt, keep them all in because I would love to just get a good race under his belt after that try on the grass. Still, he didn't take to it. I would love to get him just a solid performance, a winning performance, and get him back on track here on the dirt. And he can do it from by himself all the way up front, or you can be a little bit closer and kind of close in on it like he did when he broke his maiden there back in October of 21.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like a lot of people think that he's a need the lead type just because he had those 2 big wins last year at Churchill and Prairie Meadows on the lead, but he's run well from off the pace before. I mean, even going back to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile when he was 3rd at Del Mar, like he closed pretty well. He closed well twice at Gulfstream last winter and spring to be 2nd. So yeah, maybe he's a little bit better on the lead, but I think he's more adaptable than people maybe give him credit for. And you got to think this is going to be a short field. He's going to have the run of the race if indeed it comes off the turf. So I'll skip ahead. We'll get back to the big horse and integration in a second, but I just want to skip ahead, staying on the Giant Game theme to Saturday, the 8th race. This is where Giant Game will run if tomorrow's race doesn't come off the turf. And we also have another West Point stalwart in the race, and Brigadier General. Brig's an interesting horse because he's kind of one of those tweeners where he's too good to put in for a claiming tag, but he's not quite stakes quality. So he has to find these kind of narrow spots, narrow opportunities for these high priced allowance optional claiming races. You see he's in for the $100,000 tag on Saturday. He ran his best race of his career last fall at Keeneland. You see the 98 buyer. He ran huge that day, going wire to wire under Tyler Gaffalione, who he reunites with in this race. I think the question is how legitimate that figure is because it's such a stick out from the rest of his races. And his last 2 races have, the Tenacious was okay, but he really didn't do much running last time out at Oaklawn. You're looking for a bounce back performance, but Tommy, just looking at this from a handicapping perspective, who do you think are the biggest dangers to the Brig and Giant Game if he runs?
Yeah. It's tough to really say. I liked that 2-horse, the Lobo horse, a little bit just because 2 back in the Ellis Park Derby thought ran really, really nice race behind Tomba Rumba, who's kind of shown up and had a really big, I guess, winter down in South Florida. It's in the race itself is interesting because Hay Strike is also in there. So if Giant Game, if it comes off the grass Thursday, it's MTO, Giant Game's out, Hay Strike out is out. So that just leaves Brigadier for us. But it's this race is a lot of these horses kind of bounce around a little bit. Some really like Keeneland, like we do. Some have never ran there. Some have just never fired at Keeneland. So it's gonna be a tough one. The 7 Classic Catch is probably going to be bet down. Pletcher, Irad coming from the turf to dirt, didn't really take to the grass there. So I would expect that horse to take a lot of money and do pretty well. But I still think just because how much Brigadier General has shown us that he likes Keeneland and Tyler's ridden him, like you said, for his 2 wins there, then we're getting him back on board. I like his shot here and let's just bounce back. We know we didn't like Oaklawn, so draw a line through that and let's get him back on track.
Yeah, no doubt. And it'll be interesting to see how the pace shakes out in this race. You do have Gilcrease stretching out from a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. Obviously, Giant Game brings some pace if he's in the race. Transect, drawing from the rail, has a lot of speed and has blinkers on. So you got to think he's going to be forwardly placed. Could set up for that Pletcher horse. He's obviously going to be a short price. I'm hoping that Brigadier General will be able to sit a little bit off if all that speed continues to stay in the race. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be good to get him back on a track that we know he likes. He can give a better account of himself, but it's a tricky spot, and there's a lot of different ways that you could go here. Speaking of a lot of different ways you could go, and a very, very tricky spot, let's move to Friday's main event, the Maker's Mark Mile, $600,000 Grade 1, obviously going a flat mile on the turf, and this is the much anticipated return of our integration, who we own in partnership, obviously, with Woodford Thoroughbreds. It's been a great run with him just through 4 races. Like you rarely ever see a horse in their 4th start be favored like he was in a race like the Pegasus Turf. Like that's how much buzz he had behind him just from those first 3 outings. You know, he got into a little bit of traffic trouble in the Pegasus, but I thought in general, he just didn't pick up the way he did in his first 3 races. So I think it's possible to both have an excuse and he didn't run his A race. And that tells you how good he is. Didn't run his A race and got a 98 wire. So we got Frankie Dettori in this race. The first thing that stuck out to me, Tom, is that there isn't a ton of speed on paper. So I think you want to use a little bit of speed from that outside post. Just first blush, what did you think of the Maker's Mark field and our shot in it?
Yeah, it obviously is going to be incredibly tough with Master of the Seas there and what he's done and just how classy of a horse he is. And my kind of litmus test on some of these European horses when they come over is, who do they have booked to ride? Obviously, William Buick is making the trip over to ride Master of the Seas, so I think they got a legit shot here. And I do know that the 7 du jour is not making the trip out to Keeneland, so I saw that on Twitter yesterday. So the 7 will be out, so we're gonna feel the 7. I really do think Master of the Seas is going to be our first. This is going to be the horse that's really going to test us. Equitize is in there, who we put away in the Hill Prince last November. Emmanuel is a really nice, classy horse for a Pletcher. That it just seems kind of like a grade 3, at most grade 2 kind of horse. I don't seems to be too deep waters for him here. This Naval Power is very intriguing. 6 or 7 lifetime coming over from Europe, is around all over the place and gets Tyler for Charlie Appleby. You never really know, and it's hard. I have to go watch the replays on this horse to kind of find how this horse runs. But to me, I really think we're gonna have to find a way to get the jump on Master of the Seas here, who we know likes to come from the back. And like you said, there's no speed that I really see forming. So I think it'd be interesting to see because at some point someone's gonna have to take the lead. And maybe it'd be us, who knows? But it'd be nice to be a little bit forwardly placed there and to make sure we can get the jump on all these horses, especially Master of the Seas, and get one home here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I
same
honestly,
of
I
the
would.
market.
Yeah, man. Like that was an unbelievable race last year. So hopefully, if there is a close photo like that, we get on the right side of it this time. I think Emmanuel is potentially the speed. I think Irad's such a crafty guy and being drawn inside. He used to have speed, like when he was first a dirt horse. He won his first 2 races going wire to wire. He won the Pennine Ridge. couple of summers ago, going wire to wire. He's obviously shown that he can come from off of it as well. But I think unless Equitize is on a gun it and run it speedball campaign in this race, I think Emmanuel is probably the one who's going to be up on the lead. And I would love to see us sitting second or third because, like you said, Tom, the biggest key in this race is getting the jump on Master of the Seas, because that's the one advantage that we know we have over him is we have more tactical speed. He's a deep closer, he's a furious closer, and you can see in the Breeders' Cup Mile like all the ground that he made up going from 12th to first, going from 11th eighth ball to winning that race. So that's a finishing with an absolute flourish. I'm interested, like you are, in naval power. 6 for 7, but there was a lot of question marks about who he had beaten in those first 6 races. The only time he was really tested in the Dewhurst Stakes, he was up the track, but then to come back off of the layoff at Maidan and win that group 2, that was a confident spot by Charlie Appleby's, and it's another confident spot here, sending him over even when he already has Master of the Season in the race. So I think of like the horses that'll be semi prices, he's the most interesting one. But yeah, we want integration, clean break, get him posted up outside, tracking what should be a pretty slow pace. And Tom, did you see like Frankie Dettori won 6 straight races on Saturday
Yeah.
at the So we got a hot rider, at least that's
That
for
was
sure.
that was just wild. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I mean, it was just every race. It got to the point of why even try to handicap this? I'm just going to bet Frankie Dettori because what? I mean, when I saw you up 3 in a row, let's just make it 4. Let's make
Yeah.
it 5. Let's make it 6. And sure enough, he did.
And they were all, a lot of them were good prices too. It wasn't like one of
Yeah.
these where riding a bunch of 3 to 5 shots. He was like winning on 6 to 1, 7 to 1 shots. So it's great to see Frankie. I know he did the fake retirement, and a lot of people were annoyed that he did the farewell tour and still came back. But the guy obviously can still ride, still has a passion for it. And it's great seeing him on one of our top horses in the barn. And I have no doubt that he's going to give him a really shrewd ride. And hopefully we'll get the money. Best of luck to the integration partners. Obviously going to be a very exciting day for you, Tom, and the rest of the crew down at Keeneland. There's nothing better than running in these big races. All eyes on you. And with good reason. I think integration will have a lot of eyes on him. So best of luck to his partners on Friday. We'll move ahead to Saturday. Another West Point favorite. He's been doing it a little bit longer than integration, and he's got pretty much the biggest bandwagon in all the West Point horses with good reason. We get Jaxon Traveler again on Saturday in the Grade 3 Count Fleet Sprint, trying to make it back-to-back Grade 3 wins after he got that really exciting photo on his side in the Whitmore Stakes. Got the jump on Tejano Twist, who's back in here again. But the horse that he didn't face last time is back from Saudi in Skelly. Skelly, it was on an absolute roll. He ran second in the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, but before that, he had ripped off 7 straight wins. He clearly is a terror at Oaklawn. He's defending his title in the Count Fleet Sprint handicap. So he's clearly the horse to beat. And, this is his home track. He's got the controlling speed. There's other pace in here, but you got the Asmussen horse on the outside. Are they really going to go at it? I know Jackson's not going to be going at it with him up front. What do you think about this race, Tom, for Jackson's chances, but also just relative to the field that he beat in the Whitmore?
Yeah, that Whitmore race still, I mean, I've watched it a handful of times just because it's just unbelievable that he was able to get that nose to get that photo. I was just ecstatic. But like you said, Skelly's 100% the horse to be beating this race. And Ricardo Santana, I think, is one of the better speed horse riders in the country. He's just so good at being able to be a speed horse, comfortable, and then just his internal clock and just be able to finish that race and put everybody away, just like Skelly does. And honestly, funny enough, I like the Asmussen trio a lot. I love that we have Flavian Pratt back on board with our man. And the horse that I think could throw a wrench in everything is a Tejano Twist, so we barely got the nose down in front of last time out. He's just a really, really solid horse. He loves Oaklawn Park. He's never been out of the money there. And he's just loves his distance. Hardman's going to Christian Torres here from Landeros. So that'll be interesting to see with the jock change. But, like you said, is Rivet really going to go and hook up with Skelly? 2 horses from the same barn? You would think not. But I hope, for our sake, I hope they do. So Jaxon has a shot to kind of sit a little bit back behind him and just make his run like he did last time and get a picture taken again.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's great to have Flavien Prat back aboard because he rode him perfectly last time, and he's the kind of jockey that drawing inside, he's going to be aggressive, not necessarily sending him to the lead, but wanting him to be in a striking position in case Skelly does come back to the field. And listen, this is the race to get him, Skelly. Like he was
Yeah.
on a roll all last spring at Oaklawn. You got to expect he's going to get on a roll again. He's coming back off of the long ship from Saudi Arabia. This is the race that maybe he needs a little bit of a tightener for the rest of his campaign because that is such a daunting ship for a lot of horses to take. So we'll see. I'm not going to be disappointed or mad if he runs second, a good second to Skelly, just shows up with another good race because if you think about it, there was a time last year where we didn't really know if Jaxon wanted to run anymore. He came back in that turf sprint at Saratoga, didn't lift a hoof, was backed up to be fifth in the Light the Fuse Stakes, and then started coming around again. So it's just awesome to see him continuing to run his top races as a 6-year-old, one of the best purchases in West Point history. So I know the entire Jaxon crew, I'm sure Arlen Carpenter will be down there. I mean, Ed Romberg and Cheryl Teal, I know he's got a lot of dedicated followers who are probably going to be in attendance on Saturday at Oakland. Looks like a dry track too. So that's
Yeah.
important.
Millionaire watch too. He's almost there, and I think this can push him over that edge.
Yes, sir. It's $500,000 purse. So yeah, if he runs if he wins, he'll get to that $1 million mark. If he runs second, he'll get pretty close. But yeah, it's gonna be a great day. And like I said, sunny skies, fast track. I think that sets up well for Jaxon. So hopefully the pace scenario works out too. So we got one more horse coming up, I believe, on Sunday. We got Ohana coming up, getting the stretch out, go a mile and a half in the last race of the day at Keeneland on Sunday. And he's, to me, one of the most interesting horses in the barn, just the way that he's come around. It really speaks to Shug and his ability to develop horses that, a lot of trainers, a horse goes 0 for 6 in their first starts, will be looking to drop in class and find them class relief. But he always saw more in Ohana Honor. He had the thing where he made him a ridgeling, which I think really started to turn the corner for him. He got a couple of stakes place. He got the stakes placing in the Gio Ponte. And how about the race he ran last time, Tom? Like a lot of variables were thrown at him. First time against the Elders as a 4-year-old, synthetic for the first time, like first off of the layoff. I mean, he just ran so huge.
Yeah, that was I was really concerned that race how he'd take to the poly, and he just it was like nothing changed, and he ran awesome, just awesome. I was through the roof. I was so happy with how he ran there, and I'm really excited to get him here going basically as long as he can want to run at Keeneland. And the thing about this field is you can I spent a while looking through this field trying to decipher it and trying to put all bias aside. Who would I pick here? And I couldn't really come away with anybody because I found that I made a case for just about every single horse in this race. I mean, it's a Keeneland grass race. What do you expect? I mean, every single year they're just loaded with talent, and every horse has got a shot. That's why that turf pick 3 that they have is so hard to hit. And if you can get it right, you get paid for it because it's just so many horses can win, and they're all over the place. And if you like one, more often than not, run to the window, bet it because you're probably going to get a price. But I love getting Ohana back in the grass here. It feels like a great spot for him. I really like the distance, just giving him as much ground as possible. I feel like he's just really asked for it for a while now, and now we get that opportunity to say, fine, here you go, mile and a half. See what you can do here. And again, we get Flavien Prat, who's one of the better turf riders in the country. I'm excited. This is a really, really fun spot, and hopefully we can get this one home here to end the weekend, last race of the day on Sunday, and close it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is like you said, like he's been wanting to go further and further, I think. And finally we get him in that spot. And, it's not an easy field by any stretch of the imagination. A 2 other than Allowance is not going to be an easy group. But relatively speaking, like talent wise, I think he stacks up well with anybody in the race, if not above them. Like High Tide's in good form right now, but he's a 7-year-old gelding. So you don't think he's not going to have a step forward like Ohana may have. The other horse I looked at was Foreign Relations. He got good towards the end of the year. He had that horrible beat for people when he got DQ'd last spring at Keeneland when he veered in and impeded that other horse. And he was so much the best in that race, but they had no choice but to take him down. It was an obvious DQ. So I just remember a lot of people threatening to quit horse betting after that.
I
After that.
remember that too. That was all over Twitter.
So, yeah, there's never a dull moment on racing Twitter, and never any shortage of people threatening to quit horse betting before you see them the next day giving out their pick five tickets. So that just stuck out in my mind. But yeah, this I feel like this spot hits him right between the eyes. He gets to stretch out. It's not a killer field like you might find at Keeneland with a bunch of obvious stakes horses. So yeah, this is I think a really good way to figure out if he can compete in those top quality marathon turf races. Because you look back at the Tropical Park Derby, and I know he was fifth, and there was like a little bit of disappointment, but you look at how fast they were coming home in that race, 28 and change. For him to even stick it out in there when he's not the kind of horse that I think has that, really explosive turn of foot. He's more of a grinder. I look back at that race and I think he ran a lot better than it looked when we first saw him. He obviously had the second to Northern Invader in the Gio Ponte. That was a fun day running 1-2. But yeah, obviously I want to see integration. I want to see Jaxon. I'm excited for all of these horses. They're going to show out and do their thing this weekend. But I think Ohana is like sneaky one of the most interesting horses in the barn because of the way he's ascended since last summer. So yeah, you didn't get a chance to be at Keeneland today, Tommy, but just tell us a little bit, like how has it been your first time with West Point? I'm sure it's been a lot of fun getting all the partners in town and getting to go to the races at Keeneland.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I said when I got there opening day on Friday, I kind of had to pinch myself. I was like, wow, opening weekend at Keeneland with West Point Thoroughbreds. I mean, can't be beat. It was awesome getting to meet some new partners that I haven't met before, seeing some older partners that I have known for quite a while now. So it was a mix of both. It was a fantastic time. Obviously, results could have gone our way, would have made it even better, but still, everyone there was just having a blast. And Friday was a little cold and rainy. Saturday was just beautiful at Keeneland. It was a great bluegrass day. Hopefully we can get that weather back here soon get this rain out of here. Except
Yeah.
for maybe it can rain a little bit more, get giant Game MTO, and then it can dry out for integration. How about that?
Exactly. Yeah, just let the weatherman know exactly what we need and when. So yeah, I'm sure the weather will come around at Keeneland. It's going to be a great spring there. Just to touch on some of the other horses we have coming up where the races haven't drawn yet. Very practical Sunday at Aqueduct. I'm really looking forward to seeing her stretch out to a mile. And the second and third finishers from her maiden win have both come back to win since then. So I think that's a pretty live race. So I'm excited to see her. And then next weekend, we got a bunch of action coming up at Keeneland. We got Wayhill Road, Cohen Vest, Miss Enchanted likely going to be running for $100,000 tag. Northern Invader will be nice to see him locally. Cagliostro, maybe Winning Spirit. I mean, it's just a ton of action coming up. And on top of that, as I mentioned at the beginning, we've got the OBS April sale. April sale runs next Tuesday through next Friday. It's the 16th through the 19th. We'll be doing shortlist calls every single day at 4:00 Eastern time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to go over who we're looking at for the following day. If you're coming down to Ocala, you know where to find us. We're going to be posted up just inside from the ring near that bar area, right in that corner. That's the West Point corner. And obviously we'll be all over the grounds looking at horses too. So yeah, it's a ton of action, a lot of exciting stuff. Hopefully we get rid of that seconditis that we've had in the last
That'd be nice.
So yeah, I mean, it's always great to see the horses run well regardless, but obviously you want to get your picture taken. So best of luck, Tommy, this weekend at
Thank
Keeneland
you.
next week. Great to talk to you as always. Hope Jason's having a good time down in Florida, and we shall reunite next week for the Handicapping Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, West Point family. We'll see you back here real soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, good stuff.